Okay, it looks like we're live streaming now, so we're going to go right ahead into this beast. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go. All right, here comes the theme.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Horrible Podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Drew.
And I just realized I didn't have anything snappy to say before my name this week.
I know. I was wondering what song lyrics you were going to quote this week.
We're all off kilter. We're different night. I just wasn't ready for it.
You're a creature of habit.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. So, hey, you're listening to the original Horrible Podcast.
Yes.
DOB 2012.
What's the last song that was on your what's the last song you listened to, Brian?
Today?
Yeah. What's the last song that you listened to that you can remember? Like, what's the last song that was on your iPhone?
The song I listened to last today was "Hey Lover."
Okay, and so by who? Who's that?
It's by it's a remake done by fucking
What's a lyric from it? Then pull like the snappiest lyric from that song.
Red and white. Hang on a second. Red and white pinstripe pickup truck. Oh, when did I decide to grow this beer and gut? I may be white, but I don't like my people much. But I want to raise with you, a couple kids with you.
I didn't say the whole song.
Okay. I may be white, but I don't like my people much. I'm Brian.
Yeah.
There we go.
Cool, man. I can dig that. I can't remember the last song I listened to. I guess it was Venomous Maximus, but I don't listen to much music these days, man. I pulled a Rhapsody Best of 2014 playlist. That's really all I've been listening to because I need someone else to just give me a list of hard and fast things like, this is good, listen to this. And I'm like, okay.
God, I kind of have to. I mean, music, I have to listen to music all the time.
I don't. Like, I have grown. I think I have grown out of music for the most part. Like, I am agnostic to music, I think.
I usually listen to it when I'm doing the grading for virtual school stuff.
What a horrible
time I do it.
You lead, Tyler.
Do what?
It's sad, yeah.
Existence.
I mean, I like music. I just don't. Like, I'm usually listening to podcasts or, like, I'll listen to music sometimes, but it's usually I'll just put on a Pandora station and listen to whatever's on there. Or I will go full hipster and listen to vinyl. So everyone who hasn't turned off the podcast probably wants to now. I put on vinyl.
Put on Spotify. I just find whatever there.
Yeah.
The weather is great up my ass.
You can find us online at Horrible PCast on Twitter. We are at HORRORBULLPCAST. If you want to email us, we are wolfmansgotnards at thehorriblepodcast.com. We're on Ustream. We are live streaming right now, which if you're listening to this in the future, it's not a live stream. It's a recorded stream. But check us out. We're the Horrible Podcast on Ustream. Facebook and Twitter, we've already done. What else? Any other venue that we're missing, Brian?
Google Plus, but I haven't updated that thing in a while.
I don't think Google's updated that thing in a while.
They update the app every once in a while. The Hangouts app is pretty amazing. I
think everyone just updates apps to feel important. I don't think that
my favorite update, like note, minor bug fixes.
I know. I hate it.
Yeah. I look at updates, minor bug fixes. I'm like, oh, well.
You're just reminding us you're there and doing something.
Sometimes I don't update apps that just have minor bug fixes. I don't. I'm just like, I'm not giving you space on the hard drive of my phone. I'm not doing it.
They delete the old version. You know that, right?
Yeah, but I don't care.
It's a principle, and I won't stand for it.
Exactly. That is how I'm holding my ground. That is how I'm a Luddite. I'm hanging.
I don't like what you're saying, and I won't hear it.
Exactly. I'm just shutting my ears. I'm a technological ostrich.
The Lucille Bluth method of denying it. I don't like what you're saying, and I won't hear it.
That's amazing.
So this episode, we've taken a little while to get to it. ABCs of Death too, but hey, you know, it's holidays.
I think it's okay because it's a sequel, first of all, to something that was really interesting that we hit like immediately when it came out last year or 2 years ago. So I feel okay with taking a break on it and like giving a breather. And I feel like I came to it at the right time. Like I didn't want to rush it, so I was receptive to ABCs of Death 2. I was ready for it.
Yeah, I know, and me too. I mean, we'll get into this later, but I enjoyed this one a little more than I did the first one. So.
I think so too. Drew, what's your overall take on it? Yeah, do you versus one? I don't. Everything has to be so argumentative. But what's your take on ABC's 1v2?
I thought this one was. I think this one was paced better. I mean, the entire. I didn't notice at all that I was watching it, and that it was. I mean, we're about halfway done, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, we're at M. How are we at M already? Kind of deal.
I think so too.
I thought the pacing was good. I thought the choices of shorts were good. Even I don't know. Even if maybe they were less memorable like individually, like there's some like the original first one might have had some that were just so much more individually memorable. I thought as a whole, I thought it was they understood the concept of what they were doing better, and they just kind of flowed and were better as a whole. Maybe
I agree with you on that, on the pacing thing. I thought that there were some in the first one that went on way too long.
Yeah.
And this one I actually got, there were a couple of them I was like, oh, are you done? Come on now, give us some more.
I think so too. I thought in the first one there were also more ones that went by too quickly that were not full ideas. So I felt like, they're just doing this because they have to have a letter for every letter of the alphabet. Like this time around, I felt each piece had a point and it almost felt sequenced. I mean, other than the letters, that's not what I'm saying. I felt like it was better sequenced. Like I felt like there were more ups and downs, and like more for the darker pieces. There was usually a good comedy counterpoint. Like the one on the beach, and then the P one that I loved that was scary.
Oh yeah,
that one.
You didn't like that one?
It was not good, but it was a nice like palate cleanser.
Yeah, well, I mean, I chuckled at it a few times, and then it just kind of kept going. And I was just like, all right, I get it.
And what's good about this and the other, I guess we would say almost like cousin to this one, VHS, the VHS series, is it's nice to get these horror directors and the people that we like to see to be able to make smaller short films, because they probably got started making short films and submitting stuff to festivals. By the way, Chattanooga Film Festival, April 2nd through 5th.
CFF.
So yeah, it's cool to see them, because I imagine they all have those little ideas where they're like, oh, I'd like to do this, but it's just this short little 5-minute thing. Well, here you go. Here's a perfect opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that guy who had the scary probably had, I have something for scary, but like, fuck it. Just, it's fine. It's P.
I like it's, I mean, it's always nice to get these sort of like experimental pieces. And like, it reminds me of Stephen King's earlier short fiction. I mean, if you look at like Night Shift has a lot of weird ass, like half developed stories in them, but they're some of his most memorable short stories because they're just such weird slice of life horror things, or like some of them are just bizarre. They're not necessarily like horror stories. They're just there. So, I mean, if you look like Night Shift and Skeleton Crew, and for like I'm kind of blanking on what's in each. Is it Night Shift that begins with the mist? I think it is, but I mean they all have really weird little stories. Like the one about do what?
I don't remember, but luckily we have the internet.
Right.
So
well, I mean, you've got like in Night Shift you had. I think the story, or maybe it wasn't Skeleton Crew, where the guy goes to buy the mirror that if you look in it, it's basically you look in it and you die. And then there's like Typewriter of the Gods, where everything that this guy wrote and deleted it in real life. Like these are things that seem like quaint by today's standards, but were really great pieces of fiction.
We have so Night Shift had Jerusalem's Lot, Graveyard Shift, Night Surf, Eye on the Doorway, The Mangler, The Boogeyman, Gray Matter, Battleground, Trucks. Sometimes they come back.
Great.
Strawberry Spring, The Ledge, The Lawnmower Man, Quitters Inc., I Know What You Need, Children of the Corn, The Last Rung on the Ladder, The Man Who Loved Flowers, One for the Road, and The Woman in the Room. I didn't realize how many movies were actually made out of that.
From just that book, yeah.
Yeah.
So many good stories in that. Like I love, is it Strawberry Spring?
Yes.
Is that what it's called? Yeah,
yeah.
that's the one about Spring Heel Jack. That's, I think, maybe tied into the Dark Tower, but not. I'm not sure. Anyway,
I think a really great idea would be to do an ABCs of Death, but use one of his short story collections. That is all these books, and then just make these really short little films that pretty much would probably still tell that in those entire stories, rather than trying to take the Lawnmower Man and turn it into a virtual reality hour-and-a-half movie about virtual reality.
Where were you in the 80s, Drew?
I know. Why not?
Where was this idea?
God,
Right.
well, I mean, they sort of did that. Like, they sort of did VHS because they did Cat's Eye.
Well, they had a lot of anthologies. Yeah.
Yeah.
They did VHS. I want this, though, where you take the whole book.
Yeah. I think that'd be a great idea. Not.
I guess you're right though. We are. I mean, I'm sure we spoke about this in the first ABCs of Death podcast, which you're more than welcome to go and download. Available on iTunes, or our website. But the idea that, I mean, we had Creepshow. Now that you think about it, we had a lot of Stephen King.
There's a lot of anthologies.
They're just bad. Like,
Creepshow
2 is nigh unwatchable.
That movie Nightmares with Emilio Estevez.
Wait, what? Which one?
That's not about Stephen King. He just went on to non-Stephen King. So I'm just moving to anthologies.
Oh, you're talking about the Nightmares and Dreamscapes one?
Did you say Creepshow 2 was bad?
Yeah, I don't. It's not. It's almost unwatchable.
You don't like the? I thought the one in the little floating thing.
That's
in the
the
water?
only one. That's the only one that's redeemable. The one about the one about the
Cigar Store Indians.
Yeah, Cigar Store Indians really bad. The one where they're driving the car and the guy won't die. That one's really terrible because it goes on.
Indian one has a great line.
But too long. That's the thing. Make it short.
Way too long. I agree with you. I think like some of the segments in Creepshow, some of the segments in Cat's Eye, also the tenuous element that ties them together is almost unnecessary unless it tells like a really cool story. It's just not necessary. I like this. What ABCs of Death does is that it puts the shorts right. Like they don't have to have a frame narrative. I mean, there doesn't have to be something around it. It can just be like, here are these stories that are pretty horrifying. Enjoy them.
And a pretty creepy little animation in between each one too. That little the teacher teaching things, that was pretty good.
Well, that's what would make this great, because this does have a frame of the letters, and then so your frame for that Stephen King is just it's Night Shift.
Yeah,
just everything for Night Shift.
I would love that because there are so many stories in there that could be told. That I mean, the woman in the room is not a horror story. I mean, it's a story of like it would be an sort of an interesting elegiac story to end it with. I know there are stories that come after it, but. The woman in the room is the one about the guy whose mother is dying. It's obviously autobiographical about Stephen King's own mother passing. So that kind of stuff would be really crazy to put into an anthology of films. I mean, what did you say, Brian? Will you tell me the first one? I think is Jerusalem's Lot, right?
Right, which would I guess he would go on to write Salem's Lot off of it.
No, I think that was post Salem's Lot. Was
it?
Because Salem's Lot was the second. It was his second novel, and I think Night Shift. I mean, it was probably contemporary.
I got it. It's epistolary short story set in the fictional town of Preacher's Corner, Maine, in 1850. Told through a series of letters and diary entries. Many of the main characters are occasionally assume the role of the narrator. So
it doesn't say like when it. I mean, in the timeline it's earlier, but I mean like if it came out before, it doesn't matter. Oh my God, we're so nerdy.
Short stories is so hard to tell because they could have been written at any point and then just collected for the.
Well, it says on there previously unpublished, so he could have done. George Lucas that I had this planned the whole time.
But
I had Star Wars separated out into 9 movies in my head.
One of the things, though, I do like about this. One of the things I do like about this one, though, or actually about the first one, is that even though some of them didn't work in the first one, it felt way more experimental than this one. I mean, they were more memorable because F is for Fart was so weird. Yeah. But I will never forget that short film for as long as I live. I will remember that. On my deathbed, I would be like, there was this movie one time.
And the Nazi dogs.
The Nazi dogs, like so bizarre. This one was more monotone in that the tone varied much less than in the previous one, I felt like.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Do you want to do it like we did last time and just go down the list? Or
I think so.
All right.
And some of them we won't talk about really at all.
Sure.
The first one is amazing.
It's for amateur.
I like it a lot.
It was great because it answers those questions of in movies, and you see like what happened. What would have happened if he just like nailed his leg when walking in, and the gun went off and blew his head off?
Right, and it's
so it was, but it's the whole thing. Like it was set in almost like the Final Destinations. Like it was set in motion. This guy was going to die no matter what.
I loved it. Yeah, I thought it was really a nice. It's a nice what if, and I think that's what works about this whole series. And it was directed by E.L. Katz, the guy who directed Cheap Thrills. Yeah. So that's right. Yeah, it kind of had like a Michael Mann
totally did.
Vibe to it. It was very blue and just stylized. I loved it. The tag with the gunshot at the end of it was really awesome, and it.
He said, adjusting his glasses.
What I liked about it, which I can do now. And I think that's what works about these short films is that they tell a lot more visually. There is no exposition. It's just like what can we just shove into this more or less normal narrative to make people like reel back in terror.
Yeah, who cares about any of the other stuff?
Yeah, just give us the like. How is this going to turn into the worst thing in 30 seconds? That's what I love about it.
Right. So we get into B is for Badger,
which I also loved.
I enjoyed that one a lot. That was
Julian Barrett.
Yeah, he was one of the guys in Field in England.
Right. I guess he's also in and writes for the Mighty Boosh Mighty Boosh. Yeah. Is that where old Greg came from? I'm old Greg.
I don't know.
Sorry.
But I love that one, even though you knew exactly what was coming.
Yeah.
In B is for Badger, it was quite entertaining.
Well, it's the perfect melding of like what's going to happen, and also this host is a complete dickbag. So you relish when it happens because like, oh, it's gonna happen. So great again, and this has to be whoever made the people who made this one had to have seen Faces of Death, because at one point, I think in Faces of Death 3 or 4, there's one where they film it next to a nuclear power facility, and there were rumors of leeches the size of human beings, and they pull this skier out of the ocean, and she's got this leech attached to her leg, and it's the size of her thigh, and like it had like leech poison that seeped into her and killed her, and like that would be the biggest news story ever, which proves that Faces of Death.
Tyler, the biggest difference is Faces of Death was real.
Yeah,
it was all real.
Yep, it's definitely all real.
Don't shatter that childhood. Don't do it.
I remember when I finally got one. It was so boring. It was Faces of the Dead. It's like the only things in it were like. It was like watching the news. It was like
yeah. It was like cut news footage and occasionally a Nazi video of some Nazis doing something horrible.
It was a pretty awful one where this guy got attacked by a dog, and then the footage of that, and then they showed him afterwards, and like just his face and how they had to rebuild his face afterwards because it was a pretty brutal attack.
Have you seen Nightcrawler yet?
Not yet, not quite.
Yeah, okay. Because it seems to me that Faces of Death may have just taken off from those guys who did that in the movie. So.
Exactly.
Faces of Death is a watershed moment for me because it's when I started using profanity, because I saw there was an actual video of an execution in there of someone being executed in the electric chair, and I remember that being the moment that I started saying filthy words and have not looked back since.
Because you're like, what's going on? Like, Mom, it's bullshit. What's it all for now?
I started reading Nietzsche almost immediately. I was like, life's bullshit. What the fuck? Like, I just remember saying fuck that immediately. And
it's funny you mentioned the electric chair because C is capital punishment. Let's right into that one.
Okay, what do you think about that one?
I kind of I knew what was going to happen in that one as well. It's like, oh, he's going to get saved, the last minute save, but doesn't happen.
Drew, what you think? Like stylistically, what you think about that one?
I don't know. It was one I enjoyed, but one I didn't think back to. I mean, it's more of a more of a little morality play than anything.
Right.
It feels more like. Almost like a film school film. Like, here's a little thing we're gonna do. I liked it, but I also felt like, I remember that beheading was so brutal. That's the thing that will stick out for. Really, that's the only thing that matters about it is that I couldn't tell where they were doing the actual cuts because I was like, how are they doing this? Because this looks so fucking real.
Not just, and after unfortunately having stumbled upon, not unfortunately, I'm sure I sought them out.
Yeah.
The internet beheading things. It's like they're never quick.
No.
Like this is a pretty good representation of what they're like. They're never as quick and clean as you imagine. People gurgle and people make horrible noises, and it's like it's one of those things. You're like, this is. I mean,
horrifying.
Those moments where you realize, like, you finally realize, like, oh, they lied to us in film.
Yeah. But I also think that it is a statement. Like, it's a statement short film too of like the capital punishment is not neat. Like, there was every form of this is bad to a degree. Like, there is no clean and unmessy way of putting people to death. So I don't know. It's fine. I liked it. Like, it looked nice. It was well shot. I just don't think it was even after and before the things that came before. Like, it was a real downer.
I think I might have had the guys survive and get there to tell him after he's executed him.
Yeah, that was the only thing that I was thinking too, is that maybe they would have still been able to know that they had fucked up.
Yeah.
I think that would have been more entertaining than additional gore with the guys dying in the car crash.
Yeah. I mean, it just I like it. Was fine. I don't want to downplay it. I liked it. It was fine. Yeah, it was fine.
Then we get to the Tool video.
Yes. Oh my God, I have Tool written down here as well. Nobody can make that stop animation anymore without being compared to sober.
Yeah.
So.
In prison sex.
And that's pretty much what I thought of when I was watching it. It wasn't bad. It didn't stand out to me other than I thought.
I don't know.
It was very strange, and I could see like an experimental piece. Like, okay, I could, it was just enough to hold my attention because I was wondering what was the visuals were good. I was like, this is good.
I liked it a lot. I mean, I'm not playing counter to you guys, but I did. I mean, there's something about it's one of the most artistically creative in that it definitely does not play into stereotypes and or tropes of any kind. From like, this is entirely outside the parameters of like what I expected of this movie.
Right.
I mean, I guess this one is analogous to the toilet one from the first, the animated toilet, like the claymation one about the toilet, I think, from the first one. So I think this one's kind of analogous to that, but I liked it. There's something about ones that are just so beyond bizarre that appeal to me, and this one definitely did. Yeah. I liked it a lot. I mean, I kind of miss that stuff
more than some of the others.
People don't make. I think I just like yearn for good stop motion animation stuff. I mean it's. I mean, when Tim Burton did
some of the entries we have for the Chattanooga Film Festival, because we have a lot of good stop animation stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do like that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just so strange.
So now we get to E is for Equilibrium, and this one's actually the last couple we have not had. I didn't recognize any of the work that those guys have done. Not saying that they haven't done great stuff, but this is by the director of Juan of the Dead.
Yeah.
So a Hispanic version of Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah. Is it? I haven't seen One of the Dead.
I haven't either.
Oh.
Thanks for calling my bluff, dick licker.
It definitely felt like one of the palate cleanser you just kind of mentioned earlier. Like it was fun.
It was fun. It was they what have to choose? Well, we're gonna kill her. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. I liked it. I mean, it's definitely not. It's memorable because it's one that I'll probably remember when I think about this movie, because it's outside of the sort of normal milieu of the film. So I liked it. I didn't expect him to shoot her, honestly. I just expected it to be like a brutal thing with like a weird tag at the end. But it was both. It was both a brutal thing with a weird tag, but also one I didn't expect. So I didn't like the next one very much at all.
F is for Falling.
Yeah. I don't even have notes for it.
This one was one of my favorites. I like
really?
Yeah.
Done by the director of
Big Bad Wolves.
Big Bad Wolves, which is an incredible film if you haven't had a chance to see that.
I like the premise.
And Rabies, yeah.
I like the premise a lot.
Of Big Bad Wolves or this?
This. I like the premise of this. I just don't know that I liked... the execution was fine. I just don't think I liked it.
You mean the literal execution in the short, or the...
That was suicide. Doesn't count. So, I mean, like, the filmic execution of it was really well done. I mean, it has all of the parts. Everything worked, and it was really well written. something about it didn't strike for me. So I'm fine with it. I didn't like it that much.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I would have it in the top few there. I enjoyed it. Like the story they told
in his top 26.
My top 26 exactly. And I like the end that you don't get the full idea of what's going to happen to at the end. It just kind of pulls away and
it's certainly the most.
You kind of know what's going to happen.
I think it's certainly the most artistic, perhaps the most artistic of all of them, as far as like reaching for something, grasping for something that's not just pure gore.
Yeah.
Now we have G is for Granddad, which
I liked a lot.
I did. I loved it. Was probably the funniest one.
Right.
And I kept thinking that the younger guy was the weird goth dude from the IT Crowd.
Yeah,
but is that Noel Fielding or something like that? Is that who that is? I don't. Yeah. So anyway, it's his grandfather has been sleeping under his bed
in his
weird.
bed.
So weird.
What does he call the granddad that finally makes him say something? Does he call him a twat? Is that what?
Yeah, he right. He does make some kind of comment, and he's like, yeah.
I just thought
he's dressed like him and everything.
I thought the tone, it isn't that horrific, but it just has a really great tone. I just love the scene of the grandson brushing his teeth in the mirror and saying all of those things with the go chain, chain, and it just has the toothpaste all over his face. It's just really well written and well acted.
It's just a weird, oddball little, kind of sketch. I mean, it's definitely a sketch comedy thing more than anything else. It's like a little sketch on an oddball comedy group from an oddball comedy group.
Guys, as I'm looking down the list, I realize our next one. I realize what the next anthology needs to be. So H is for Head Games by Bill Plimpton.
Yes.
Always nice to see his work.
Yes,
right?
I love Bill Plimpton.
And now I realize that we need to start making anthology horror films based off 80s yacht rock bands. So we're gonna have Foreigners anthology, Head Games. Feels like the first time they're gonna go to. Let's go ahead and just plan out Foreigner, Toto.
I was gonna say you could do one entirely of Foreigner.
No. Foreigner's the first one. We're gonna
Double
go with
Vision. Yeah. Double Vision would be a great short film. Yeah. That's Journey.
No.
Ooh. Doesn't Journey do I Want to Know What Love Is? Don't they do one? Okay.
Man.
Ooh,
we're gonna have to reevaluate your next self-evaluation. You have to remember that one.
At least it'll be a self-evaluation. So
I'm marking it down right now.
Okay.
So
it's coming up, right?
It is. I'm like, Tyler doesn't know who sings I Want to Know What Love Is. I mean, that wasn't even close. Like me confusing Chicago's I Don't Want to Live Without Your Love with Foreigners I Don't Want to Live Without You.
What's the Journey song that has that
Italian restaurant in 1988 at the jukebox? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was saying there's a Journey song that is like that though.
I Want to Know What Love Is?
Yeah, Journey. I Want to Know What Love Is. Boom. No, it's Foreigner.
roundly considered the song that ruined Foreigner.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's still an amazing song, but the song that ruined them as a rock band.
There's a Journey song that has a title near that. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop talking.
I can't come up with it.
You're talking.
It was later. It was later.
Pretty big Journey, guys.
It was at the very end of Steve Perry's career. Like it
could have been on Trial by Fire.
I don't know. I remember the cover of the Ka-single because my mom had the Ka-single.
I think.
Okay.
Are you thinking of When You Love a Woman?
Nope. Yeah. All right, let's move on.
All right, guys, we'll finish the. Next week we have the Foreigner and Night Ranger.
That'll be in the horrible After Dark where we just sit and talk about Foreigner versus Journey songs.
Well, I think I kind of want to do this podcast now, so look forward next week. So the next one, I is for Invincible.
One more thing. I want to say something else about Bill Plimpton. I always loved Liquid Television, and I think. Not enough people point to it as something that's really weird from the 90s that had a huge impact on a lot of the people who are our age. And Bill Plimpton, I mean, what was the name of the Push Comes to Shove was the famous short that was on Liquid Television that I really loved that was Bill Plimpton's, and this is very similar to that. And I just love the art style here. So yeah, I just want to give a nod to Liquid Television because I think, I mean, if we have younger listeners, I mean, everyone's probably our age or so, but if we have younger listeners, they probably have not heard anything of Bill Plimpton's work, so or Liquid Television. So
I used to love that
Eon
show.
Flux Eon Flux, and those are the only real. I mean, everything else is so weird. Like this was pre Beavis and Butthead, pre all the other weird stuff that was on late night MTV in the 90s. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it's before Cartoon Network and get Adult Swim and all like that. Yeah,
I mean, and Liquid Television is definitely the precursor to Cartoon Network stuff. So and Adult Swim. Yeah. So I is for Invincible. What is? I didn't write any notes for that one.
That was The Family. It was. I thought it was I is for Inheritance. Is what I thought for a while.
I did too. I thought that would. I also thought that.
And then she just arrived. It was one that I didn't remember. It was the one point in the movie where I noticed myself kind of starting to zone out and start to pay attention to the time and where we were at that point. And then we pull back with a stranger one, even maybe I'm not even sure.
J is for Jesus was really speaking of Stephen King stuff. The bumpy demon faces for the I guess the evangelists who were correcting this guy, I thought looked like I imagined the bat people in the short story The 10 O'Clock People. Do you remember that story?
I remember the story.
10 O'Clock People. Brian, do you remember that story?
Oh yeah, that's the one that they started. The ones
like
that were just
places.
quitting?
Yeah, it's for people. Right? Yeah, it's for smokers who are starting to quit can see the faces of these bat people who have taken like it's a kind of invasion of the body snatchers thing. Like I always imagine their faces look like the bumpy demon faces from J is for Jesus. Yeah. That's what I always imagine.
Yeah, this is the run in the movie. Like I said, for a few, I have a hard time remembering. I just feel like I was kind of pulling out of her, but I don't remember K.
K is for Nell. It's very short. There's a black orb that's in the sky. Like this woman looks out of her window. There's a black orb, and then people in the apartment building across the way and like all around her start murdering the people. And then they look up and see her because she's the one who is not infected by whatever this is. And then they appear by her door, and then she dies. Like there's blood, and then blood mingles together.
I do remember that now. Had a rear window look when she was looking out in the apartments. Yeah. I do. But like I said, this is where, I mean, I, J, and K, until we got to Ellis for Legacy, I do distinctly remember that one.
What is Ellis for? That's one I don't
That's the
remember.
African.
What did you think about that?
It was intriguing, and it was also probably the most amateurish I felt.
Yeah, me too. I thought so too.
When you watched it, did you do the Walter Sobchak thing? Like, these guys are a bunch of fucking amateurs.
Cocking a gun and said, "Over the line."
Do you know how many times like this weekend I did the you don't because you weren't with me, but of course I did the once this thing hits 15 mph, you're gonna roll out. Hand me the Uzi. I said that like at least 5 times this weekend.
That's nice.
Anyways,
it was fine. Like I wanted. It felt like Things Fall Apart a little bit, like Chinua Achebe's horror movie. I mean, and I'm not opposed to, like, the thing is, I was rooting for this short because I think there should be more sort of like out of the realm of just like moody white people in films. And like this, I thought this was like, oh, this is going to be so different, but it was fine, but it also didn't quite come together in the way that it just felt disjointed.
Yeah, but the next 3, then it's a nice run. Really good run.
Agreed. M is for Masticate. I thought it was going to be M is for Meth.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
It was really funny. The super slow motion was a great touch, and the guy who plays the dude running down the street was priceless. Priceless.
I mean,
doesn't he make a comment like, yeah, I'll fucking do bath salts?
Yeah, it's a whole reference back to the bath salts. It's like, wait, what happened to that? It's like bath salts all of a sudden biting people's faces off, and then all of a sudden nothing. So
I knew that was it. As soon as I saw like
him running.
I was like, this is gonna be about bath salts. This is gonna be meth related. It was really funny. I
dug it. Yeah.
The more we talk about it, the more funny ones there are, because there was E is for Equilibrium. There was what was it G is for Granddad, and then M is for Masticate. Like, I think this time around people took a chance on like, I'm gonna do something that's funny but gory, which I like. I mean, it's hard to do. And this one was straight out of the Lloyd Kaufman school of filmmaking. Yes. Like it, you know what I mean? So it felt very trauma.
Yeah, when that line at the end, like, the toss away. Yeah, sure, I'll do bath salts, and then this is what happens.
We should do like a trauma retrospective.
Well,
Did you guys sit through that?
William from the Knoxville Horror Film Fest is supposedly they have Lloyd Kaufman coming to do a trauma thing up in Knoxville.
But isn't that the same weekend as CFF?
Is it?
Knoxville? I guess not. When is it?
I don't know. They had to. I think Lloyd Kaufman had some like scheduling issues. It's supposed to be rescheduled. I don't know when it is exactly, but I know that he had that worked out where he's coming to do like a talk about his films, and they'll show a couple films.
I love his two.
Not Romeo and Juliet, but fucking
Terror Firmer.
Terror Firmer. God damn, that movie's so great.
Yeah, I fell in love when I wanted to be a filmmaker in college and was studying, like doing the telecom thing. I read both of the books he wrote, Make Your Own Damn Movie, and everything I know about filmmaking I learned from The Toxic Avenger are such great. Like, anyone who's out there who's an aspiring filmmaker, if you want to, I mean, it's kind of outdated now because the technology has changed so much, but if you want to be like an independent filmmaker, read both of those books by Lloyd Kaufman, because they are amazing.
Yeah. And he was doing the things that, the no budget filmmakers do now.
Yeah.
But back then even had to, still had to pay for the film to make things on, because they didn't
you had to. That's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, like, if you're a fan of gore, you definitely do see trauma movies.
Yeah, I mean,
but, and gore for gore's sake, and the humor put into them too, because I'm sure most of those people were not being paid for what they were doing, but were just balls out having fun while they were doing it.
James Gunn cut his teeth there, of course.
Yeah. Did he write Terror Firmer or Romeo and Juliet? I think
it was Romeo and Juliet.
I think so too.
Yeah, but he was kind of the house writer there for a while, because he's mentioned in Make Your Own Damn Movie and Everything I Need to Know.
He definitely get that from Slither.
Did you see the biggest film of 2014, Guardians of the Galaxy? I trained that dude.
Yeah, well, and he's in it. I lost my mind in the theater. I was like, who is that? I was like, I'll tell you later. It's a long explanation. So, yeah,
so
I'm a big fan of
then we get to Innistrad Nexus by Fessenden.
Yeah, that was a great one.
It was a good one, and I liked it. I mean, I knew what he was doing, the whole, like, all these things combined to make... It's, again, the... fucking god damn it, I'm out.
What were you saying? I don't say it again. Start over. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Final Destination, like all the things come together to make the one horrible thing.
Yeah, but that was one of the strongest. That was one of the strongest ones. I enjoyed it a lot.
Me too. Well, it had the most sort of character to it.
Yeah.
And because it had, like, most of them were just like, here is a premise that we are playing out, but it felt lived in. Like, it felt like something he had been sitting on for a while, because there was the Be My Valentine, which I think is hilarious, that he puts in his pocket. I mean, there are just little touches that make it felt like a more thought out thing than like, oh, we have a weekend, let's do this.
Right.
Yeah, I liked it. I'm glad we get to talk about Larry Fessenden, the filmmaker, as opposed to just Larry Fessenden, the guy who's in everybody's movies.
So we get to O is for
Ochlocracy.
Is that how you say it? Mob rule.
Ochlocracy. Yeah, it's an interesting take on zombies. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
And also a horrible waste of not using the mob rules by Black Sabbath featuring Ronnie James.
Yeah. They would have used all of the money to buy that song and then some to get it cleared. No, see,
Sabbath doesn't charge for the RJD stuff.
And they're just like, take it.
Yeah,
it's over there in the corner. Just pick it up and do what you need to with it. Like, just get it out of the corner.
They're like, we're actually a little embarrassed by RJD. He's no Ozzy Osbourne.
It was like I'm so over zombies. I think that I almost rolled my eyes at the beginning of this, but it is an interesting take on zombies, and like, at this point, you need an interesting take on zombies to get my interest really at all.
I think that's how it worked. Yeah.
So Dying Light is going to come out here soon, and I'm interested to know how I kind of like, I want it, but at the same time I'm like, oh god. I saw some first person parkour video where it's kind of like sponsored by Dying Light. I was like, if the game looked as fun as this parkour video is, and I'm in. But
yeah, I think it's supposed to be more movement, more traversal. So I think it's more. It's kind of like.
But the zombies were chasing them like fast, and it's parkour as well.
It's like it's like Dead Island mixed with
Infamous.
No. The what's
Mirror's Edge.
Mirror's Edge? Yeah, it's more like that.
Never mind.
Supposedly,
Mirror's Edge is a lot of fun.
Mirror's Edge is fun, but I don't want to add zombies to it.
Well,
no. I did not. Like I said, I didn't care for P as for
scary.
Yeah. I did. I mean, I did as a pure change in tone. It reminds me of the short film that we played at Chattanooga Film Fest last year, Brian.
The silent one.
The silent film.
The snuff film that wound up being a snuff film.
I love that. That was really interesting.
Yeah, I can see that. I can totally see you like how that would kind of be.
That sounds more interesting than this.
Yeah, it was a silent. It was done as in the style of silent film.
It was about some guys who didn't make it into a film festival, then kidnapping this guy who was this like programmer and forcing him to accept their film because it was good. Maybe they a little too long in the setup.
Yeah, it was.
But overall, it was great.
And there was so much uncomfortable laughter by the 60 and 70. Like, people are like, oh, a silent film. And then it turns really dark.
Yeah. I love the turn. People start getting cut and then murdered, and it's pretty good.
By the end of it, I just loved the sound of people moving around uncomfortably in their seats. Like because it was too long, but I kind of liked that because it made people squirm a lot.
I'm writing that down to add. I'm gonna look at the name of that up so we can give that.
So good, so good.
But,
and then we get our Q is for questionnaire, which that's the one
I liked it.
I did too.
Directed by the guy who did Room 237.
That's right. That's right. I knew I recognized
Rodney
his name.
Asher. Yeah. I liked it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Let's do this the rest of the podcast.
That'll be fun.
What I was going to say.
The intercutting was nice. I'm a big fan of that. The sort of like transposing it to the future, but also telling the current narrative. I thought that was a really nice way of doing it, and it looked really good.
Yeah, it did.
And like whatever, they're not using film stock, but whatever camera they used and whatever coloring they did was really like it looked really clean and bright, and I loved it. I thought it was a really nice little short.
Yeah.
So we get to R is for roulette,
which I didn't like at all until the kind of the turn at the end when they show us what's really going on, and then I thought it was a really impressively emotional short.
What's happening at
the end? They're playing Russian roulette, and then when we get to the end, he gets the bullet. He knows he has the bullet, and he shoots the woman. It's like, damn, that's just cold and kind of lame. And then you pull upstairs, and you hear all the zombies or whatever it is trying to get into the house. And it's like they were fighting for actually who does die, and when he knew when he knew he had it, he killed her instead. I thought that made that one. Otherwise, I was just kind of bored, and I was like, I don't care about this. And then that end, I was like, oh, wow, I like that.
The Marvin Crin.
The second guy is Bill Oberst Jr.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think so. Unless I'm totally mistaken. I think it was Bill Oberst.
No, I'm sure you're right.
So I think that dude has a versatile range of accents and things because he
plays. The director of this is R for Roulette is the director of Blood Glacier.
I knew I recognized his name as well. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
S is for Split.
I like that one too, if I recall.
That one was good too. It had the wasn't the so twist. It was kind of a twist on
like
who was having
inverse
an affair
twist.
Too, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it sets it up like the wife is having the affair because he calls her. She's basically nude in bed, so you think like, oh, maybe she's with someone, but then like it completely turns it on its ear.
And plus, don't they kill the baby?
I don't remember. Did she like? They show the baby and she's standing over it.
Baby.
Yeah, I think they killed the baby.
It's fucked up. This was a really fucked up.
And I mean, I like the reveal at the end of that one too. It's like a lot of these really turn on their reveals at the end, where there's something else, and then all of a sudden you get that. And that's what you can do with a really short, is you can do something else and then have this complete,
with no necessary
you don't have to
like,
set it up. Yeah, you don't have to like you didn't have to know that there was a wife, and like that's what's great.
And you don't feel so annoyed at having sat through an hour and a half or 2 hours and then have this huge change. If you're watching that, I mean, I'm okay with that, the rug being pulled out from under me more in that situation than having invested in this other stuff and then have what no.
I think I started to turn. I knew once we saw that it was a female intruder, I was like, oh shit, the dude's having an affair with a dude, I bet. Yeah, I loved it. Like, I mean, yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a really nice turn. And it was really, I mean, there was a lot of brutal stabbing in this film. Yeah. Like a lot of brutal, from the decapitation and capital punishment to the stabbing here, which just was, I guess it wasn't a stabbing. It was like a clubbing, but it felt like a stab. It was a clubbing that felt like a stabbing.
Especially in Well Done Home Invasion is creepy.
Yeah, it's the most real. Like, man. It made me think about what would I do if someone broke into the house, and the real time aspect of it, where holy shit, it's not like you call the cops and then they're there. You know what I mean? Like you'd have to survive through the home invasion until the police arrive. That's horrifying.
Yeah.
So next we get to T is for torture.
Yay, the Saskas.
Yeah, exactly. Probably. What's their production company name? They're like Twisted Twins.
I think so. Man, if you haven't seen American Mary, you need to see American Mary.
Definitely see American Mary. When I finally watched it, I was disappointed that I'd waited so long to see that. It's a really great film. And if you check out, I don't know if we posted the pictures, but sometimes fellow podcaster and contributor to the serial killer.
I like Serialist better.
Well, that's fine. We can change it some other time. But she went as American Mary for Halloween. She looks insanely close to.
Yeah, she does. We need to put that stuff on the site somehow.
Yeah, we'll get that up there. I'll put that right now.
I want to say that I think there's a huge cultural movement. Hopefully, by smart directors to get away from films just blithely portraying women to be like tortured for the sake of TNA and all of that, which there's sort of a place in that in history, but I think that time's over. And this film, because I started getting comfortable, like, oh, okay, here's a violence against women, when like when
I knew they had directed it, though, I was like, no, this is not. This isn't going to happen. This isn't going to play out well for these dudes.
No, and I'm glad. Like, I liked it. I like that turn. I think that's.
If I'm correct, the actress that plays in this was in something we just watched. Actually, I want to say Star. I could be wrong.
You are right about that. I can't remember what she was in either, but I do remember seeing that when I was looking at it. I was like, oh yeah, that is who that is. Because I think I leaned over to Gina and was like, oh. Well, she was in American Mary for one, but
that's what it is. She was one of the characters from American Mary. That's right. One of the. Okay. I think she was one of the made-up women, the creations by that one guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna move us on to the next one, and then and then a couple of cool ones. Vincenzo Natali's "U is for Utopia," an interesting, more sci-fi-ish kind of.
And remember,
deal
in the first one, we had that one. We had that really cool sci-fi one that we had in the first ABCs of Death, that close to the end as well, where it was a I can't remember what it.
And then what did he direct? That I can't remember now.
Vincenzo Natali.
Was that the same?
No, I don't know who directed that one. I was meaning this one. This is the guy who did Splice and but done a bunch of episodes of Hannibal. This is probably the one that I watched that I thought I wanted expanded to see more of. Like, this is the one that I was like, this could have been a feature kind of deal. Like, whereas a lot of them are like, oh, this is just a short. This is one where like I'm interested in this world and how this could be expanded upon. Like, I thought I liked that.
Yeah, Via's for Vacation was. Absolutely brutal.
Yeah,
absolutely brutal.
Stage fright guy, Jerome Sable.
I couldn't quite. I knew that since they were on a ledge that someone was going to. That was the gun. Yeah. That was the gun on the mantle. But I had no idea what was going to happen before then. So when the mother prostitute gets up and starts, this is another brutal stabbing. Like, this is people deserving comeuppance.
Well, people on the phone also, listening too. That seems to be a popular one.
Sorry, right number kind of stuff.
You didn't feel bad for those guys either. You're like, oh
no, there's such
that
dude
one
bros.
scene, and he's like, oh he likes old stink. I'm like, oh god.
Well, that one friend just seemed like that awful person though. That did pull me out of it. It's like, why are you friends with that guy? It's like that thing where he was made to be so awful.
When you see those things, do you sometimes think, God, this is what it'd be like to go on vacation with Brian?
No.
Not really.
I would like
I figured
to call
that would be you falling asleep early and...
I would be
it would be what actually happened.
Like, oh, we just walked along the beach and had some beers.
Yeah, that would be it. I would say that the friend, let's call him the Eli Roth character. Like, I think that this can tip, like, if we're talking about horror movies who have just... characters who have no reason.
Eli Roth character as in the character that Eli Roth
would write.
Would have played.
He would play or would write. Like it's the reprehensible character who has like no like endearing qualities whatsoever.
Right.
But those people do exist is the sucky thing. W is for Wish was one of my favorites.
How could it not be? If you grew up as like I was a He-Man kid and everything, I mean, how could you not? I wanted to go to Eternia. I mean, it was fantastic. It was like
awesome.
An 80s movie too, where the kids go and get sucked into this fantasy world, and then it's awful though.
Yeah.
The reality of it is it's terrible.
It's the worst. Yeah. So I really liked the blend of.
Now, is this the guy who directed this? Kostansky, is he part of the? He's part of the Vestron 6 crew, isn't he? With Manborg.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, totally. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
I liked it. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, it is definitely memorable, but I don't know. I like it. That's what I can say about it. It was a really interesting note.
Well, he also did
very much like a. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, something he did the. You mentioned the Hannibal episodes from Natali did that. The guy who directed this also did some Hannibal episodes as well.
Oh, cool. I was really thinking. It felt like it would have been a robot chicken.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. It took me a second to yeah, absolutely. Felt like it could be. I would like to see a robot chicken version of ABCs of Death. I think that'd be interesting.
So robot chicken?
So robot chicken. Yes. Sure.
I'm trying to remember this one though.
X's for Xylophone is the one
horrific,
with
I remember that now.
The babysitter.
Yeah, she's getting so annoyed by the xylophone that she winds up just playing the bones.
Yeah.
But
I don't remember a lot.
So we have a short submitted to the Chattanooga Film Festival that this reminded me a lot of, and I was like, all right. And I was like, yeah, this. What's nice is that I can totally see like in doing the stuff for the film festival, I can totally see these people fitting into these anthologies, making these shorts too. I'm like, God, this would be good. And I'm always scared, like, oh my God, what if I see one that I recognize and I can't pass it through? But
you guys did Inside. I knew I recognized their names as well.
It was good. It was gory. I mean, the tag is that it is full of gore and horrifying to parents. So,
which is, if you've seen Inside, you would not be surprised that their movie is full of gore.
Okay, so the last two are perhaps the most bizarre and also two of my favorites.
This one, not so much. But we'll talk about the next one.
I like Z better than Y. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Y is fine, but I miss
Y is our Japanese entry. The one, the weird F is for fart. We get that for this one as well.
I wanted more. I'm glad that we have one that is included that is this bizarre. I do like the bizarre nature. The giant hamburger that looks like. The plant from
Little Shop.
Little Shop, like the Little Shop of Horrors hamburger was awesome. Feed me, Seymour. I'm a mean green mother. I like that's the aspect of it I like was this sort of like bizarre, like the penis with the French fries on it or whatever.
I did like that. Yeah, everything was
so
just
weird.
Her imagining what was going to happen was pretty great. Like the fender coming out of the dad turning into the guitar.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. I thought it was the camera work that I liked and the way they edited the stuff to make it look bizarre. Like the guitar head stock coming out of the dad or whatever. When she bends over and breaks herself to turn it, like that was the most. It wasn't a werewolf. Yeah, it wasn't a werewolf transformation, but I think that's the most interesting werewolf transformation I've seen in years. It was really cool.
And not just that, but I'm always perplexed. How the fuck do the Japanese culture text? I was looking at those things and like, what are you even typing? What does that even mean?
Yeah. Well, they know. At least
they know.
They know. And then Z is for Zygote was really like
it
original.
worked on so many levels.
Yeah. So original.
Like, everything that was happening to the very end when you get the return and like we can always make another one. I was like, oh shit!
I shuddered so much at that. Yeah, it was such a brilliant way of ending it. But
and so the guy who made Z is for Zygote, I was looking at his filmography and I don't recognize. He did so he did T is for Thread on ABCs of Death 1.
Yeah, which was good. Which was one of our favorites, I think.
Yeah, I believe you're right. But
it's the one.
This guy needs to do some more anthology work or more horror stuff.
Yeah,
I'm blanking. What was that one?
Maybe not. I think it was.
T is for Thread. Isn't that the? I'm getting it confused with the guy who did.
I don't remember
the R with the.
So it's Chris Nash is the guy who did it.
It's fine.
While arguing with her husband from behind a closed bedroom door, a woman accidentally begins removing sutures from a recent facelift. I don't remember that one at all.
Oh, I don't remember that one then.
I have to go back and watch ABCs of Death. This is made me want to go back and watch it.
It does make me want to. Yeah, I agree. Also, ABCs of Death is T is for toilet.
So
T
maybe
for
this
Thread
is
something else. Yeah, that's something
Oh
else.
yeah.
T is for Thread. Oh, you know what? I wonder if Z was for Zygote was the submission that did the be the 26th filmmaker ABCs of Death 2 because they had because we had a submission to CFF that was considered for one of the ABCs of Death 2. I bet you this is it.
Okay.
Interesting.
Which bravo, Chris Nash, because this was a great short.
Great short. It felt like Cormac McCarthy by way of like some bizarre ass shit. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I wanted to see what that kid looked like so bad. Like, is it all blind and like white eyed?
Yeah,
it's beautiful. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's man.
I was hoping but like it transforming itself. I almost don't want to ruin this for people who haven't seen this yet.
No.
All right, we'll leave a little magic.
It's great.
And stick around for the post-credit scene.
Yeah. Is that the guy trying to wink one off?
Yeah.
Which is kind of almost a callback to the granddad who's like, "What do I don't have anything to wank with." Because it's just a patch between his legs.
Oh God, I just remember that too.
The Human Centipede 2 guy.
I don't know why you didn't mention that. Because I didn't mention it, but I was like, Brian's gonna bring it up, and then I forgot, and we kept.
I completely just remembered what it was.
Like a sleepaway camp kind of reveal.
Yeah, it was. I have nothing to wank with.
So hey, you mentioned sleepaway camp. I saw today that Death Waltz Records / Mondo Records released a 7-inch EP of Angela's theme from Sleepaway Camp on vinyl. Nice. If you turned off when Tyler started talking about vinyl and then thought, oh, I'll fast forward it because nobody will mention vinyl again.
And then you hear it again.
I'm sorry.
Yep. So
vinyl.
Just hate me. It's fine. Hate me.
Yeah. I mean, he's got the big glasses now. Tyler
transforming.
Become hipster.
Yeah. That word's so dead. Call me.
Saying that. You keep saying that.
He's saying that because.
Yeah, because
that word is so dead. There is no viable definition of hipster. Like, what do you?
I'm looking at one.
No, you're not. I'm like the farthest thing from a hipster.
You're if I was going to define a hipster, I'd say, well, kind of like Tyler, but a little more
cool. A little more cool.
A little less aware of themselves being a joke. Because Tyler understands.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll accept that.
That's
I guess
fine.
if I have to. I highly recommend this. It was definitely.
Yeah, I definitely held off watching this because I was like, I don't know if I want to get into another
exactly
death. But
I don't know if I want to do this again.
It was great.
Yeah, it's very great. It's a good anthology.
It's very great. It's very good. Great.
Yeah. Did the first one make it into theaters?
I mean, in some, but not a lot of
probably in Austin.
Yeah,
I know
this is also a draft house.
I know that we showed it as an MES feature, so it must have been 2 years ago that the first one came out.
Yeah.
So
okay, yeah, I say
2012. Yeah.
So yeah, I will post notes up for the stuff we talked about because I'm I realized that we go through, we had a couple tweets over the last couple weeks of the shit we talk about. And I realized, man, we go through so much stuff that people probably just like can't keep up.
Yeah, so much pop culture stuff. Yeah, it's good to put notes. Just are so time consuming to write. So
well, hey, guess what? I did
Thanks,
it.
Brian. Thanks, bud. Hey, look at you.
Thanks, Brian.
Looky Lou, look at you.
Yeah.
All right,
stuff. I figured only stuff that we spent more than 2 paragraphs, only 2 back and forth on. I wasn't going to put everything in there.
Yeah. All right, man. I'd say take a chance on this flick. If you like the first one, watch this one. Yeah.
Have you seen Death 2? Go check it out.
Yeah.
Check us out on Twitter at HorriblePcast, HorrorBullPcast. And remember, we're the original horror podcast, guys.
All right.
Your face.
I hate you so much.
I know you do. So until next time, I'm Brian.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Drew.
Check out ABC's of Death 2.
See ya.
Comes from the same old flame. You'll give